So the Perek continues with additional details in halachas relating to the Melech, to the king. We're up to Perek Beis Mishnah Daled. The Mishnah says that the Melech Yisrael has the right and the authority to go out to war, to declare war in Milchemes Rashus. Milchemes Rashus in contradistinction to Milchemes Mitzvah. What is a Milchemes Mitzvah? An obligatory war for which he and the army have no choice. What is a Milchemes Mitzvah? One is Milchemes Hamalek, to fight against the nation of Amalek, and B, to fight against any one of the Shiva Amim, of the 7 nations that were to be conquered in order to come into Eretz Yisrael. Those are Milchemes Mitzvah. Milchemes Sha'ar Umois, Chutz, Milchemes Amalek, Milchemes Shiva Amim, says the Rav. Fighting any other nation other than Amalek, other than the Shiva Amim, is a Milchemes Rashus. So the Mishnah says, Umoitzi Milchemes Rashus, a Melech Yisrael has the right and the authority to go out to Milchemes Rashus, an optional war, if and when he has the advice and consent of the Sanhedrin, of the Bezdin HaGodol. Moitzi Milchemes Rashus al pi Bezdin shall shivim ve'echad. He may go out to fight a non-obligatory war, an optional war, if he received such permission, such authorization from the Sanhedrin HaGedolah, from the great Sanhedrin, from the Bezdin HaGodol. Furthermore, the Mishnah continues, he also has another right. He also has the authority to break through what is referred to as a derech amelech. Upoiretz lasos lo derech ve'ein mimachin biyado. He may break through walls and territories that surround another person's property to make a derech hamelech, to make a straight path for himself, to be able to reach his own fields and vineyard, and no one may protest against him. In other words, no one may stop him. To what extent may they not stop him? Derech hamelech ein lo shiur. The path of the king has no limit. That means he can make it as wide as he may need. As wide as he may need. That means that when a king makes a path through another person's property, he may widen it as much as he may require for himself. Meaning to say that the servants and the soldiers don't have to walk in a single file. Well, if they walked in a single file, they can squeeze through. No. For the Melech, there is a right and the authority to make a derech hamelech as wide as need be in order to allow his men, his army, and so on to walk through comfortably. The expression is derech hamelech ein lo shiur. The path of the king has no limit. He may make his path as wide as he needs. Furthermore, and during a war, all of the people who take the biza is the plundering during the war. So during the war, all the people plunder the enemy's possessions and place the biza, the spoils, before the melech. They bring it to before the melech. And he has, being that he is the king, hu noitel chelik barosh. He has the right and the authority to take his share first. This we learn from a pasuk, that the spoils of war, that the biza is the spoils of war, are equally divided between the melech, between the king, and the army. So the Mishnah teaches that the melech, the king, is entitled to choose his half first. He gets first. Afterwards, after he got first, his share, so the people distribute the rest of the spoils among themselves, half going to those who fought in the war, and the other half to those who remained behind to guard, to safekeep the camp, the entire land. So again, כל העם בויזס ונויסתם לפניו, והוא נויטל חלק בראש. The second issue the Mishnah talks about is in regard to a three-way machloikes about how many wives a melech may marry. We know that up until the cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom, so a person can marry more than one wife. A man can marry more than one wife. It's interesting that the Gemara has a very unique expression about somebody who marries a second wife, a third wife, and so forth. They call her tsarosoy, his tzara, because the truth of the matter is that al pi seichel, giving attention and giving love and giving sensitivity and sharing oneself with one woman is a big, big, big challenge unto itself. To share it with more is an issue that the Chazal ultimately realized they needed to make the cherem of Rabbeinu Gershom. But as far as the Melech Yisrael is concerned, he was allowed to marry more than one wife for a variety of reasons. But yet the Torah tells us the pasuk, Lo yarbe lo noshim, lo yarbe lo yoshim, which means the pasuk says in Devarim Perek Yud Zayin, he shall not take for himself many wives. Harbe, many wives. How many is harbe? So the Tanakama says, Lo yarbe lo noshim ela shmoneh esrei. Not more than 18. Not more than 18. Where does the Gemara explains, where does the number 18 come from? So we find that the Novi Nosson told Melech David, he told King David, that he was permitted to triple the number of wives he already had. Now, since David already had 6 wives, and when the Novi Nosson tells him he can triple them, that means he can marry a total of 18 women. The second opinion is that of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Mar Behuloi, he may take for himself more than 18, but with one very important condition. Ubilvad shelo yehu mesiros es liboy. As long as they don't get him off the track, as long as they don't turn his heart away from the Ribono Shel Olam, from his essence, from his ruchnius, as long as they do not bring him to a sinful state. How does he know that? How does Rabbi Yehuda know that? Because the pasuk says, "Lo yarbe lo noshim, lo yarbe lo noshim," so that his heart not turn away from God. Shelo yosir levavoi, that you should not be turned away from God. So yeah, you can take more than 18, but in that condition, shelo yosir levavoi, that they should not turn away his heart from the Ribono Shel Olam, from his essence in his ruchnius. And the third opinion is Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Afilu achas u'mesira es liboi arei ze lo yisayena. Even if there is one woman who would turn away his heart from the Ribono Shel Olam, he may not marry her. Even one. Oh, says the Mishnah. If that's the case, so if that's the case, that a king may not marry even one woman of bad character, Why is it stated he shall not take for himself many wives? Oh, you know why? Because over 18, he may not take even one more. Afilo kavigail. The pasuk means to tell me that even if the wives are righteous, like Abigail was, he still is only limited to 18. Don't come and tell me I'm going to take the 19th because she says it's a tzedekes, like Abigail. No, 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 says Abshimin. Afilo achas, even one more, umisira es liboy, can't take her. So let's summarize these three shitas. The first Tana rules that the limit is always 18. A king may marry as many as 18 women, even if they are of poor character, and he may not marry more than 18, even if they're good character. Rabbi Yehuda allows a king to have more than 18 wives, provided that they will not turn him away from the Rebbeinu Shalom. And finally, Rabbi Shimon holds that a king may never marry more than 18 wives under any circumstances, even if they're all as righteous as Abigail, and he may not marry even one wife of poor character. Those are the three shitas. Now from women we go to horses. It says in the pasuk, Lo yarbe lo susim. It says in the pasuk regarding a melech, he may not take for himself many horses. Lo yarbe lo susim. What is harbe susim? What is many susim? Says the Tana. Lo yarbe lo susim ela kedei markaftoi. Ela kedei markaftoi. He may have as many horses as he may need for his chariots, which means that he's forbidden to own many horses only if they're for his own pleasure, for his own glory, for his own grandeur. But he may have as many horses as long as they are for his service, for his army, for his workers, for his Gesellschaft. In order to feel on his monarchy. But for his own pleasure, to have all of these Rolls Royces in the garage so he can show it off, lo yarbe lo susim. Then the pasuk continues, v'chesed v'zav lo yarbe lo me'od. It's stated weiter in the pasuk regarding a king that he may not collect for himself much silver and gold. Pasuk Yud Zayin there. What is lo yarbe lo kesef? What is kesef v'zav lo yarbe lo me'od? What does yarbe lo me'od mean? Ela kedei liten apansio. Ela kedei liten apansio. Kesef v'zav, he can have plenty as long as he needs it to pay the soldiers' wages, which means that he may not go ahead and just store money for his aggrandizement, for his glory, for his prestige. But whatever he needs to pay his staff, that he may do. He may also collect wealth for any other purpose that is part of the public interest. The issue of lo yarbe lo me'od kesef v'zav is applying only to amassing treasures and wealth for his own glory, for his own prestige. So again, we have lo yarbe lo noshim, number one. Number two, lo yarbe lo susim. Number one is noshim. Number two is susim. And number three, kesef v'zav lo yarbe lo me'od. Now we switch from what he can't have too much of to what he needs to have two of. V'koisev lo Sefer Torah lishmoi. He must write a personal Sefer Torah for his own sake. V'koisev lo Sefer Torah lishmoi. He must write a Sefer Torah for himself, for his own sake, and he may never part from it. He may never separate from it. Now, the truth of the matter is that it's a mitzvah upon every Jew to write a Sefer Torah, to buy a Sefer Torah for himself. But regarding a king, the pasuk says that it shall be v'hoya, that when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, v'chosav lo Sefer Torah, he shall write for himself 2 copies of this Torah. The pasuk says in Dvorim, Perak Yud Zayin, pasuk Yud Ches. That is, even if he owned the Torah, even if he owned the Torah scroll, before ascending to his throne, he keeps that one in his treasury, and he must write a new Sefer Torah for himself when he becomes the king. What happens with this Sefer Torah? When he goes out to war, the Sefer Torah comes with him. Nichnas, when he returns from his war, machnisa imoy, he brings it back with him. Yoshev badin, when he sits in judgment, when he sits as the dayan, it is with him. Mesav he kenegdoi, and when he reclines, when he's sitting at a meal to eat, also the Sefer Torah is with him. Shenema, the pasuk says about the Sefer Torah of the Melech, v'hoisa imoy v'kora boy kol yemei chayav. As the pasuk says, that the Sefer Torah shall be imoy, it shall be with him. For what purpose? So that he can read it all the days of his life. That means to say that a Melech Yisrael can never be separated from a Sefer Torah. A Melech Yisrael can never in any way become detached from the source of his Malchus. The source of his Malchus is a Sefer Torah. Just what one of the comments, it says that Yoshev Badin, he imoy. Yoshev Badin, he imoy. If he sits as a dayan, the Sefer Torah is with him. This goes back to what we learned 2 Mishnayos ago, that this which melech can be a dayan? Only a melech from Malchus Beis David. Only a melech from Malchus Beis David can be a dayan, because he is committed to the law of the Torah. But Stam Malchei Yisrael, not from Malchus Beis David, who are arrogant, who are not always fully observant, who could very well see themselves as not being committed to Torah, they could not serve as dayanim.